Okay, the long-awaited presidential debate is upon us, and here's what I want you to watch for. Kamala Harris went after Trump pretty hard about Project 2025 at the DNC, but of course Donald Trump is now making the claim that he has nothing to do with Project 2025. And he can get away with this because technically he didn't come up with it. The Heritage Foundation and a bunch of other conservative political action groups did, with help from about 140 of Trump's former staffers. So rather than focus on whether he authored the manual, let's focus on how his proposed policies line up almost word for word with that manual. Here are the top 5 policies that Trump has actually endorsed from Project 2025, and keep an eye out for these talking points during the debate. Number 1, a big part of putting Project 2025 into place involves implementing something called Schedule F, which is basically an executive order that lets Trump fire anyone that he wants to that works in even the lowliest position in the federal government and replace them with Trump loyalists. It's on page 535. And how do we know that Trump is on board with the linchpin of this entire manifesto? Because he already signed Schedule F in October of 2020 when he was hoping that he would have another term to implement it. But we all know how that ended. Number 2, Project 2025 also wants to end the idea of the Department of Justice and the FBI functioning independently. That's on page 873. They want Trump to be in full control of these agencies so that he can carry out vengeance on his enemies. This clip is from 2017.
They have a witch hunt against the President of the United States going on. I've taken the position, and I don't have to take this position, and maybe I'll change, that I will not be involved with the Justice Department.
Did you hear that?
First, when I was hearing him say, look, I've been hands off, I thought, okay, good. They're getting it. They realize that you have to keep them arm's length. But I have to tell you, it caused great concern when he said, but that may change because it shows that, on a whim, this could shift in a different direction.
After that, he ended up firing FBI Director James Comey, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and he effectively forced Attorney General Bill Barr out for refusing to help him interfere with the 2020 election. Number 3. Page 351 of Project 2025 recommends eliminating the Department of Education entirely.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states.
Number 4, both Trump and Project 2025 have big plans on going after illegal immigration. But the real concern is how focused they both seem to be on legal immigration. That's on page 177. Project 2025 recommends slashing refugee admissions, which Trump did when he was in office, putting strict limits on student visas for certain countries, which Trump tried to do, ending temporary protected status, which is something that Trump did when he was in office, ending family-based immigration and DACA protections, which he and Jeff Sessions tried to do before the Supreme Court blocked them. And Project 2025 proposes using the U.S. military to protect the border.
So we are preparing for the military to secure our border between Mexico and the United States.
And if you've read any part of Project 2025, you know how much its writers detest diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Number 5, they're proposing cutting off government funding to any corporation that even has a DEI program. They're really seeking to remove protections from any group that's been historically marginalized, including the LGBTQ community. And here Trump is promising to do the very same thing.
To vigorously enforce yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, I will eliminate all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the entire federal government.
Now, if Trump were to win the election, there won't be any point where he suddenly comes up to the podium and announces, today we're going to begin implementing Project 2025. His team will just start doing Project 2025 stuff because he agrees with most of their ideas, and pretty much every structural mechanism that will be in place if he's elected will be implemented by someone associated with that manifesto. There is no other plan in place. Regardless of his claims about not knowing who these people are, he does, because they are his people. Trump knows that Project 2025 as a brand is pretty rancid at this point, but the policies that it contains are fresh on Trump's mind because they are his own.